When you're doing baguettes, you really want to focus on, one, that overlap, and then two, getting underneath the skin. So these guys are a little bit lax because we made a mistake yesterday and forgot to, we had some people out and other people using or working unusual shifts for them, and so they forgot to do a refresh. So these guys, I'm thinking, got shaped and mixed yesterday. Oops. So here you go. And you almost want to do it like you kind of don't care. Just try to center it. So that's a really good example. The lines are not, you see they're not curved. A lot of people tend to score like this, but you want them to be almost straight lines. And then wish me luck, because I'm putting these in the bottom deck today. So we bake baguettes a little bit hotter than our sourdough. So we bake our sourdough usually around 450, 455, and I like to go really hot on the baguettes. I think they like the extra heat, the like pop, that right away pop of heat. We use ABS, American Baking Systems oven. This one's super simple. We really like this oven because, one, it's way more affordable than some of the European ovens. All the parts are easily replaceable. Like, we can take off an entire side panel here and just like look at its guts, and it's very well organized, and the company is very responsive. But you just turn it on like this. You've got your light here, so you can either bake in the darkness or have a little light. Then there's two elements inside the oven. So the top element is, there's the top element and then the bottom element. So here you can see it's emanating heat. Beautiful illustration. And so you could set this independently from here, from the bottom. So if the bottom tends to get a little bit hotter and browns the loaf obviously faster. So we set it a little lower. And then we've got your timer here. So how long you want your set in the oven to be. And then down at the bottom is your steam. So for baguettes, we're going to bake for 15 minutes for the first part, and with the damper closed, and then 8 seconds of steam. And then we'll open everything up and bake it for another 10 or so minutes. I'm actually probably going to go lower because I'm experimenting. I'm going a little hotter today. Green number is what you set, and the red number is where the oven is at. Unloading baguettes is always a little scary, because you got to go fast. And if you mess up, you can end up with a little snaky. So my trick is, when you do mess up, just take the other end of something long in here and straighten these guys out. That was the only one. Okay, so I'm gonna close the damper. This little button engages the seam. And then this one is your timer. And when it's blinking, then you know it's on and timing. So this week we are baking blueberry lemon thyme loaves. They're in the oven right now. So you're gonna get your first peek. So this one has just about a minute left. I'm just gonna stop it prematurely. So the first set for these loaves was 20 minutes. Second set will be 10. I'm gonna open the door and release the damper. You can see these nice ooey gooey bubbly babies. Once March came around and the pandemic really hit here, we had a ton of demand for bread because, you know, the shelves at Trader Joe's and all the grocery stores were like totally empty. So we consolidated our menu to our top 5 items. That would be like our sourdough, our English muffins, our sandwich bread, our pain au chocolat, and our plain croissants. So those are, I would say, our core items. And then outside of that, we rotate our specials that we had before. we've kind of liked this constricted menu because it gives more space for creativity, whereas before it was almost like we were like suffocating our menu. So we get to bring back our regular specials with regularity, and then we get to have a little time left over to experiment. So like these blueberry loaves. The week before, we did a Thai curry, we've done a gochujang, and then some of our regular specials would be like our green olive loaf or our cranberry walnut bread, our almond croissants. But yeah, people seem to be really getting, it's fun because people get to get excited every week for something different. There's our blueberry bread. So this was, the other thing about developing flavor or having specials, it gives people kind of a chance to highlight their skills or something about them, like, or just to have a creative outlet. Like these were, the concept was made by one of our newer employees, Brandy. She had the idea to do like a set of rainbow bread, so we did a red pepper paste one, so that was our red one. We had a yellow, Japanese yellow curry, so we have red, yellow. This is blue or purple, I'm not sure, blue. So for this one, we use a pea flour, blueberry extract, fresh blueberries. A little bit of lemon zest, and thyme. If you want to peek down here, this is going to be our baguettes. I'm actually pretty happy with these, especially this guy. It's a good looking guy. So I like this one because it's straight, and then my scoring came out centered, and also got like tiny ears on them. But they're gonna look nice. But see, they've already gotten a bit of color. I put the oven a little hotter on the top deck, so they've already gotten a bit of color. So instead of doing the full 10 minutes, I'm gonna bump it down to like 6, see where they're at in 6 minutes, and then decide again. So don't be afraid to stay flexible, not flexible, like intuitive with your baking. You gotta know, one, your equipment, and two, you're just like, I guess I'm lucky because I've had so much practice. I know what to look for, but just keep observing, I guess. Keep observing and refining. This is the first set of baguettes. I bake these a little different, not as extreme as the others in temperature, because I bake these at the same temperature as loaf temps, so 450 and 415. So this one, a little off center here. You see I kind of started going to the right. Same here. This one's kind of nice. It's centered. It started to pop a little bit. See how like it really gets to expand in that overlap? Just get so nervous going through there. We just had one more of these left. This blueberry loaf, so I'm just gonna bake it now. So this bread, like I said, we made a mistake this morning, or yesterday afternoon. So this bread was mixed last night, and you can see it's like not as taut as a bread that had been sitting in the fridge for 24 hours. When the bread's like this, you're gonna wanna focus on simple designs for scoring, more functional scoring, and then just use like a sharp blade because it'll drag. Woohoo! Cool, so I just turned that over so I can check the bottom that I didn't overdo it, but these are all looking pretty nice. I would say the middle one is probably most classic. So for me, I think the thing about baguettes, the baguette is for somebody who enjoys like the crust of the bread, like crispy, delicious, you know, crunch. Because, I mean, when you boil it down, it's mostly crust. So this is not my liking, but I'm gonna leave these. Our oven bakes dark to light, so I'm gonna leave these because some people prefer, you know, a lighter baguette. So I like to keep the range there. This is the right side of the oven, and this is the left side of the oven closest to the steam. So you can see just the variance right there. I always get paranoid when there are no timers going, so I just make sure there's nothing left in there. It's burned me a few times. So, you know, these are not perfect for, I'm not very good at this S scoring, I would say. We're not very practiced. But they're still beauties, so you should love them anyway. So we have a few times a year where we shut down, like for a while. We usually take a 2-week break in July. And during that time, we, speaking of knowing your equipment, take this baby apart and totally clean her out. We get all this bran is falling through the cracks here. I try to get out as much as I can after every bake, but it still falls through, so we sweep this guy out. We perform any necessary maintenance that's like maybe been put off, like replacing light bulbs. So this is the S score. I'm sure Emerald can give you a better tutorial, but I like mine to be very dramatic. Not always sure that it works out that way, but I try. Yeah, so these are, like I said, looser. So if I go slowly, my blade will have a propensity to drag and like crimp the cut. So see how that's like not as controlled as if you go quickly. And sometimes it looks like you're tearing up your loaf, but when it bakes, it'll come out nice and even. And it'll drag regardless, but the faster you go, more confidently move, the more it will reward you. A little trick I was taught was to do your decorative scoring before, yeah, see, that was a ripple that I did not want. To do your decorative scoring before you do your functional score, because the skin of the dough is a little more taut in these situations. So if I were to slice it first, it loosens up the side, so it's a little bit harder. Decorative scoring is just fun to do. Makes your loaves pretty. But yeah, don't overthink it. Unless you can draw like Muppets on bread, then maybe overthink it.
All right, so you guys got to see this really quick. We're gonna have to do a video on this at some point because this is a new product that I'm super proud of. In Korea, they traditionally make these sweet rolls crusted in peanuts. They're called Sourdough. Well, I love peanut and chocolate combos, and Emerald introduced the Sourdough Pong. And then Emerald also was thinking about making a Mexican chocolate babka, so she had made this spicy Mexican chocolate. And I said, make the babka, that's fine, but I want to see that Mexican chocolate inside this sweet roll. So it's actually filled with, when you cut it, it's like a gooey lava thing that's going on. These are going in the oven right now. So, you know, it's gonna have to be another day, but this is a preview for another day that we show you guys these. One of the things that we did notice is that steam with rolls doesn't always do it favor. The steam causes the rise to be more vertical, and especially since we have a topping on this, we've been saddened a couple times. We're still kind of testing things. This is nothing really like anything we've done before. We have to top dough right before it hits the oven with the peanuts and hope that it doesn't spill all over the place as the rolls rise. So it's sort of important to get the timing right, because the steam has sort of caused the rolls to spring upward and burst upward and just throw off all the peanuts. So we've been playing around with it, but we're getting more consistent results now.
This one's a great specimen, because when Dylan was shaping last night, this one is uniform throughout. So when shaping the dough, the tension was even. There were no bulges, whereas this one, for example, probably had a little too much dough in the center while shaping. I particularly like to point the edges. Oh, it's blueberry. But you don't have to do that. Yeah, these are all pretty nice specimens. Dylan did a good job shaping last night.